Hello, friends. Sorry. Excuse my voice. I'm coming off of a few days of crud. Thank you. Thank you for your concern. The story I have today is it's going to make you want to pull your hair out. There is a group of people called the Ancient Artifact Preservation Society, AAPS. They hold conferences, I believe, annually. I think they're usually in Michigan. Maybe they're always in Michigan and the UP up there. I don't know. Big into the pre-Columbian transoceanic contact diffusion stories. So this is the Celts coming over, the Egyptians coming over, the Welsh, the Mormons are into this stuff, the Lost Tribes of Israel. All of these groups from the old world coming over and doing all the cool stuff that obviously the Native Americans were incapable of doing. There are so many misinterpretations, misrepresentations. There's outright fakery of artifacts, some of it going back to the 1800s, some of it really, really recent. And this group lives in that world. Anytime there's anything that can be used to support this idea that everybody and his brother from the Mediterranean was over here traipsing around, building mounds and doing other stuff, they're on it like a wet diaper. They're on it like white on rice. So the great news is now that they are going to have a museum.
Good afternoon. We are here at the groundbreaking ceremony for the Baraga Historical Museum, the new addition financed by Jay Wakefield.
So the AAPS is not opening the museum, but one of their active members who has written a lot about the copper mining and how the copper from the UP, quote unquote, fueled the Bronze Age. He's been writing about that story for decades. All right, Baraga County Historical Society breaks ground on a museum expansion project. Broke ground on Wednesday, October 8th. Historical Society worked with Jay Wakefield to determine a substantial donation to fund the work. The donation was the first $1 million from this came from Amazon stock, Wakefield explained. Facility will house 3 new galleries to tell the story of ancient copper mining, offer space for the Keweenaw Bay Indian community to share their story, and safeguard the history of Baraga County. I don't know all the ins and outs of the money, who's involved, who signed off on it, but I know that this is going to be a museum that will feature the story of copper mining in the UP as told by this group of diffusionists. And here is Jay Wakefield talking about his vision for the museum.
And we learned a lot in Europe about Michigan copper, believe it or not. It's a long story. It goes from Michigan to Egypt. And we're going to teach the whole thing in here. And we'll have artifacts that people have never seen. We'll have...
It goes from Michigan, or from Egypt to Michigan, Michigan to Egypt, something like that, I think is what he said. And we're gonna tell this whole story in here, and we're gonna have artifacts that people have never seen. Now, I do not own any of J. Stuart Wakefield's books. There are a few examples of his scholarship and work online. This is an article that is featured on Graham Hancock's website from 2011. Michigan copper in the Mediterranean. So he's talking about that shipwreck off Turkey, the copper ingots. He's trying to make the connection. So, this is all pretty standard stuff, but you get an idea of what he's into. So this is the kind of thing that I presume will be featured in this museum. And obviously I have no way of knowing exactly what they're going to put in there. But he said he was very clearly going to tell the whole story. And this is the whole story according to J. Stuart Wakefield. He's got a handprint. What's he doing with that? Ooh, giant skeletons have been found in early... Okay, so he's into the giant skeletons. So why would you... It's like, here's my hand. Here's the handprint. It's bigger. So we have to assume that came from a big individual, right? So how big is this ship petroglyph? Because these must have been some really tiny people to fit in this ship, because I'm pretty sure this is not the actual size of a ship. My point is, why do we assume that a petroglyph is the actual size of anything? I guess if it fits your narrative, you do. What else we have? Trace element analysis. Yeah, they get this wrong all the time. Ulu-Bruin ingots were pure. I believe the archaeologists who worked on that said that they were smelted, but that's a topic for another video. Where did the copper go? Minoan traders. See what else we can find about our pal J. Stuart Wakefield.
This is a major worldwide discovery that is pretty much unknown. The head of archaeology in the world, he claims that we'll never know what Bronze Age
Is there a head of archaeology in the world? How was I not aware of this?
people were thinking because they had no written language. That's a bronze axe with, you can see, markings all over it. Experts say that these have artwork on them, but I found that I could count the artwork. They recorded what they thought in numbers, and I've been able to interpret what they're talking about. So basically, late prehistory is not unknown anymore.
I'm absolutely fascinated by how you've been able to somewhat go into the past, learn another language from another time, and be able to interpret it.
Are you ready for one more little discovery?
Yeah.
It's come to light how Americans' view of their continent and who's been living here before has been affected by disinformation.
Boy, her channel is more pathetic than mine. 905 subscribers. Anyway, this is a fairly recent interview. So all this disinformation, I guess, is going to be corrected for you people up there in Baraga County, Michigan, and any of the tourists who stop by. You're going to see the world according to J. Stuart Wakefield. Here we've got the website for the Ancient Artifact Preservation Society. Oh, so their conference. They just had their conference, October 3rd, 4th, 5th, 2025. Back to Our Roots, Michigan Copper. I wonder if they still got the Nazi pedophile Frank Joseph used to participate in these. Not sure whether he's... Oh, there's Wayne May. So you've got Heartland Mormon connection there. Jay Wakefield listed there. Keweenaw Copper Range. Where did all the copper go? And they got Bronze Age Europe. Where did all the copper come from? And that's the basic, equation. They would argue that the evidence is that there was too much copper mined in Michigan. Too much that can be accounted for by the Native American copper artifacts, and there was not enough copper mined in Europe and the Mediterranean, North Africa, Caucasus Mountains, whatever, to account for all of the bronze artifacts that you find there. So they're insisting that there would have had to have been a transport system to take copper from the New World to the Old World, and they would claim that they have evidence to support that. You'll notice these things up here at the top. I believe these are items from Burrows Cave. This is obviously supposed to be a map of the Great Lakes, and this is whatever, some dude with a staff. There were tons and tons of these things. Reportedly came from a cave that nobody has ever seen. It was a story cooked up by Russ Burrows and Frank Joseph, who was in prison, where Russ Burrows was a prison guard in... the early 80s. I can't remember the exact date. Frank Collin goes to prison as a Nazi pedophile, comes out, changes his name to Frank Joseph, starts writing articles about Atlantis and Burrows Cave, and Russ Burrows was a prison guard there. He's the one who's finding all of these artifacts in a cave that nobody else has ever seen, and still to this day hasn't seen. And even Scott Walter, bless his heart, Scott Walter looked at some of this stuff and noted that one of the marble artifacts that he looked at to authenticate or analyze or whatever was actually a piece of historic tombstone.
What is the Burrows Cave allegedly supposed to be? You said it's a great story. Maybe give some background about how you were brought into this whole situation.
Yeah, well, this was, another one of those stories and I heard the story about this cave down in southern Illinois that a guy by the name of Russell Burrows had discovered and gone inside of and found all kinds of these artifacts. He found swords, he found shields, he found dead bodies, you name it. I mean, it was just a treasure trove of artifacts and gold as well. The trouble began with this particular piece right here. Now, I'm going to take you through this. A guy by the name of Jay Wakefield, who was a big supporter of Burrows Cave, I think he might already be. I actually sold some pieces to him before I sold the bulk of the collection. He bought a few pieces from me. That's another story. But anyway, he brought this piece to a conference, and I looked at it and I saw some things that bothered me, and I'm going to show you that in a second. So now let's flip it over, okay?
Oh, are you kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding you. So what do you guys see?
Well, I see the letter K and E.
Well, you actually see the letters THER.
Okay.
Like mother or father. this is a modern tombstone, okay?
Yeah.
No question about it. And I think what we're seeing is somebody trying to get rid of, the carvings on the back, because the back of the tombstone is actually where that woman is drawn or carved. This is the front, but it's the back of the artifact. You follow me?
Hi, I'm Stuart Wakefield, and I'm the author of some books that you can find on Amazon under my name. What I'm holding here now is a photo of one side of a Minoan pendant that was dredged out of the Ohio River. It's one of the most amazing things. It's bronze and was lost in the Bronze Age in Ohio. And it's going to be on exhibit in our new copper exhibit in Michigan. And photos of it are in my books. At any rate, we're so excited to have all this original material in our new museum that we're going to be building together. Okay, thank you.
Here's a paper on what appears to be the same pendant. So he was showing, I think, this paper, which is by the guy who is Wakefield's writing partner, says it's from Cleveland, Ohio, found in a football field, which is not the same as being dredged up in the Ohio River. The Ohio River is on the other side of Ohio. So there was an article written about this that was in Ancient American. The article was written by, guess who? Frank Joseph, your Nazi pedophile. High quality stuff in this museum. Where's it from? It doesn't matter. Somewhere in Ohio. How do you know that it's real? I don't know. The Nazi told me so. Anyway, this will be a developing story. I don't know how far along they are in the process. Obviously, they just did the groundbreaking. So it looks like the financial stuff and the will are there to build this museum. This is the location of Baraga County. So here's the Keweenaw Peninsula up here. That's where a lot of the copper mining was. There's Isle Royal there, which has some well-preserved copper mining thing, pre-contact copper mining. So the copper was mined here in this large deposit, both in pre-contact times thousands of years ago and during the historic period. And there's evidence of both of those things. And this is Baraga County here. Marquette is somewhere along here. So I actually drove right through here on our vacation because we came down, would have gone around that corner. Beautiful, beautiful drive. This is all volcanic geology in this part of the state. It's really nice. Really, there are plenty of museums in the world that have an ideological agenda. You've got your Creation Museum thing in Kentucky with the big ark. There's that Bible Museum, Young Earth Creationist Museum in Glen Rose, Texas, Biloxi or whatever, where Joe Taylor used to work, and they have like the London Hammer, and stuff like that. It's not unprecedented to have like a certain slant in your museum when you are trying to convince somebody of something. I just think this has kind of a ring of sadness to it, though, because of it being associated with a county historical society. It kind of feels a little icky because this is not real history. The part of the story that I'm sure J. Stuart Wakefield is excited about is fake history. But I guess if you got $1 million to throw at something and you find a willing partner, you can make that happen. And a lot of people are going to come away with some pretty bad information. But that's where we are. I will try to keep abreast of what's going on here. I would be surprised if this is not going to get some pushback from other folks up in that area, and I think it should. There you go. That's what I've got for now on that. So have a good weekend. Bye-bye.